I've been a member of DID for about 7 years, but a little over a year ago, I actually moved up to the Bronx. So I live in the South Bronx now, and I love it. And I love what a wonderful ambassador you are on it. I have a couple questions, and they're not directed towards you personally at all. I just have 2 questions, and I'm hoping you can answer. I know that you're in support of the Fresh Direct project, and it's my understanding that Fresh Direct received $127 million in city and state subsidies, but they're not required to pay a living wage. They were actually exempt from the living wage legislation that we all worked so hard to pass. Do you agree with that?
So remember, you say work so hard. Living wage was introduced at my behest. So the living wage law, the current law that the city has, was drafted in my conference room at Borough Hall. And that came out of a conversation from the first Kingsbridge Army go-around. I support Fresh Direct. Let me tell you why I support, and then I'll answer, and I'll get back to living wage. I support Fresh Direct because currently they're in Long Island City. They employ 2,200 New Yorkers, and they've outgrown that space.
But have they, I think that we've learned that just through different documentation, their own documents, that they actually haven't outgrown the space.
They have, well, they're outgrowing, they're on pace for growing over 1,000 jobs over the next 3 years. So they were ready to go to New Jersey. In fact, Peabody has taken the site that was offered to them because they decided to stay in New York City.
Offered New Jersey?
Yeah, New Jersey.
Peabody is?
Peabody is a subsidiary, is the same model. I think it's a subsidiary of Walmart.
Okay.
So, and that's really huge. And so they said no to Jersey, they wanted to stay here. And currently, there are 600 and almost 30 Bronxites that work in Long Island City. And the mayor wanted them to stay in New York City. The governor wanted them to stay in New York City. And so I supported them, and I came to the table wanting them to do right by the Bronx. Right. So without them putting a shovel into the ground, they are already delivering in every corner of the borough, when before they were only delivering in Riverdale. Without putting a shovel to the ground, 60% of their new hires since August have been Bronxites. Without putting a shovel to the ground, they've already converted the entire fleet from, regular gas guzzling trucks.
Well, we know that they're not actually converting their fleet yet. They had the opportunity to convert after Sandy, but they didn't.
They purchased a couple of trucks. The thing is that we wanted them also to purchase trucks from Smith Electric, who hasn't gotten their act together, which is a manufacturer of all electric vehicles that we want to come to the Bronx as well. And they've allowed us to have a national pilot program where currently people who are receiving public assistance, their EBT cards,
well, just real quick, I don't want to interrupt you, because it was my understanding that they didn't actually even deliver to much of the Bronx besides Riverdale before this whole deal went down. Is that true?
That's correct.
So
the advocates, we listened to the advocates,
right.
And then let me just finish this. With regards to the living wage bill, I would have loved for them to have a living wage, except that the prior speaker and the prior city council didn't move on it fast enough, so they did it prospective.
So essentially it was stalled on the floor for a vote so they could lobby for an extension from living wage.
That's not true.
No, I think that their documents have shown that when you look into the different lobbying, they were lobbying and they lobbied for an exclusion, and that's why it didn't go to the floor for a vote. It was held off for over a month. So anyway, I'm just curious, because now I know Mayor de Blasio has been very vocal on his opposition to Fresh Direct and this tale of 2 cities, and he actually does have the power to stop this deal. If he did, would you support him in that at this point?
Absolutely not. In fact, I've had this conversation, and today I had Cal Kimball in the office. I support Fresh Direct 1,000%. I think that that is going to help create jobs.
But they're not living wage jobs.
They're not all living wage jobs, but a lot of them are unionized jobs.
Well,
and a lot of them, when you do the average of these salaries, they exceed the living wage. I'm the living wage champion. And I would love for them, if they can cut, I know that the EDC is getting into a conversation with them to see if they can bring the rest to living wage. I would love that to happen. But in fact, Bill de Blasio, when he was the public advocate, at the time when we wanted the living wage bill done, which could have had Fresh Direct in it, he still wasn't supportive of the bill.
I've had actually conversations with Bill de Blasio in this room here, where he's talked about opposing large subsidies for companies like Fresh Direct without a living wage. Living wage, I mean,
I do
it's
too. I
$10
do
to
too.
$12 an hour or higher.
No, $10 an hour with benefits, $11.50 without.
Right, but Fresh Direct starts at like $8.50 an hour. And I guess that goes on to my
Some
next quick
positions.
question. It's
Some
just that
positions.
right now, even the unionized drivers have this $20 million lawsuit to Fresh Direct that was just introduced last week because they've been getting slighted on their tips. Do you know about that?
Yes,
What do you
and
think about
I mean, if it's the case, then Fresh Direct should, correct that. We'll see how that pans out. There was also a lawsuit with folks who, lost a lawsuit against the state of New York, and that was announced today. So I'll let the judicial
Okay,
system
and
take
again,
its course.
we both love the Bronx, so I'm not saying that, I'm opposed to.
But if you don't have Fresh Direct, what do you do on that piece of property?
That property is public land.
That
Property is public land, and there's actually a community-driven vision for that land because it's actually on a flood zone. So providing green jobs, green sustainability, parks, public space. There's 7 miles of waterfront there that nobody in the South Bronx has access to. Some of the people that live in the projects in the South Bronx, they don't actually even know that they could go down here to the waterfront. The Roundel Park connector has been stuck, blocked off for 10 years.
But we funded the connector, and we did a couple. I mean, it's taking some time on my administration. We funded the connector,
right.
So that's going to open up. And understand that piece of property, you say it's public land, and I understand that it's state-owned land, and it's leased to a gentleman who has it leased for 99 years. The New York Post is on that property. It's never going to be a parkland. I mean, I'm for parks. We've done about $300 or $400 million in park repairs and restoration in the last 4.5 years. But that's just never going to be a park.
So I won't take more time, but I just want to say one more thing.
Yes. And we want to create jobs,
Oh, I know. And
And if you quote, and when you say there's a large
But I
community.
just want to say one last thing.
Yes.
Let's move it along because we have to get out of here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say one last thing. Really for.
No, go ahead, finish.
I just know for a lot of the people in that area, the issues are more environmental. I mean, you know the statistics. 1 in 5 of our residents in that area has asthma, and it's all directly related to the pollution and the truck traffic, the truck trips in and out of that area. So bringing in another 1,000 truck trips a day, up to 1,500, even if you're kind of slowly moving to electric, it's just going to exasperate that. So, I mean, that's the concern for a lot of people. It's just environmental, and it's justice-based. So I would love to talk with you more about it at some point.
Okay. It's my concern as well. I also know that people want jobs.
Well, people want paid living wage jobs for companies that are committed to being in New York. So.
Yeah, and I think, Leah, thank you for bringing up
Thank
all these
you.
points.
Thank you.
You know, I know-